Hola. ¿No? Uno, dos, tres. Hola. ¿Todo bien? Aha, that's all I can say in English. In Portuguese, actually. In English, hopefully something more. So, warm welcome to everyone, and big thanks to Beatrice for making all this happen. I would like to hear one big applause for her and her team, because this is really amazing. Woo! Yeah, that is what I learned about Brazil. This is my first time that there is very unique energy and a lot of joy and a lot of support. So I feel this support also for my presentation, so let's try to start with it. First, I would like to say that I sensed a lot of playfulness here around. And when I was thinking about that and learning those 3 days when I arrived about Recife, it is amazing how important this place actually is in the history of Brazil, but also for the trade with Europe. And here we have also Netherlands, who significantly contributed to that it developed in the way as it was and still is. So that was first lesson. The second is, out of this playfulness, I was thinking how to introduce my country, because I'm coming from Europe, but other than that, I'm coming from Slovenia. So, and those who follow basketball, maybe you recognize some of those guys. Have you ever seen them? Luka Doncic? Anyone? Yeah. So, Slovenian hero in basketball. And during the Olympic Games, we actually won against Brazil. Amazing. Why is it amazing? Because Slovenia has 2 million people. Can you imagine? Only 2 million people in one tiny country. You can see they're a little bit squeezed. And we always say that we are a country of just the right size. So not that we are small, but just of the right size. So I'm thinking also of the region here, Pernambuco, of the region of just the right size to start this circular transformation. And to remember Slovenia, one more fun fact. It is the only country with love in its name. So because we write as love Inia. So love is embedded in our name. That is enough about Slovenia. So next thing, my observations, I love the sea. I love sailing, Beatrice knows that. And I was thinking, oh, maybe we are in Recife, because this is something what resonates with me so much. But there is something more, what I learned as well. Every morning when I walk here, this is 3 times, not so long, but there is this completely different perspective of the view. There is this openness, there is the ocean. So most likely, this affects also your behavior, your view. So you want to explore, you are open-hearted. While in our beautiful country, you can see mountains. So when you have mountains, it's always like that, oh, this is small territory, I should squeeze in, I cannot go, oh, I should suffer a little bit, I'm tired, and so on. So I think it's really nice that those 2 cultures, it's not that one is better and other worse, but really to learn from each other. How is it when you have the ocean in front of your window, or how is it when you're squeezed among the Alps? And then try to find out how to collaborate. And the journey from what Beatrice mentioned, where we met until now, is amazing, because what Exchange for Change with Beatrice and the team has done in those years is really fantastic. And this is just the timeline of our, let's say, encounters and activities that we shared mainly in Europe. Because with our organization, Circular Change, we organized conferences on circular economy starting 2016. And since then, there were other opportunities where we collaborated. And one of those are also Latin America Caribbean Days, where Beatrice was always present and introducing what is going on in not in Brazil, and our colleague in Chile did it as well. Also, the opportunities and exploration of that. So there is another thing happening today. You know what happened? Yeah, who won? Trump won. So we don't know what to think. But do you know where the wife of Trump, Melania Trump, is coming from? First lady, Slovenia. So I don't know whether to be proud or to be ashamed, but anyhow, that's the fact. So the world is changing, and the playground remains the same, but the rules are changing. So that was mainly a kind of intro of that, how to stay flexible and how really to keep this playfulness, even if sometimes it's not so easy. So for my circular journey today, I choose 5 steps. So we will try to find out why circular economy is so important in the context of well-being. It was already mentioned that it is not just because there is climate change and we should do something, but it's really about us. How we feel, how we want to feel, what we want to create, and how is it grounded in Brazil's values. Then we will talk a little bit about circular economy, so how to integrate that and to integrate that to stay on the market, not to be less competitive. Then how to implement system thinking and how to have strategies that already exist also in Brazil. Then we will go a little bit to the role of leadership and collaboration, and at the same time, how to integrate also the tradition that is super present here, and then a little bit about everyday life. So if we start with this well-being, why I'm stressing this out? Because when I'm going around and we say circular economy, climate change, people take their phones and start Googling. So hopefully not everyone is doing this right now, because it's not something what we identify with. But if we say, what am I going to eat? Can I still swim in the sea? Is the fish I eat full of plastic? Then all of a sudden it resonates with me. So the whole story is around that. How are we preserving this planet because of us? Selfish humans, right? So it is not something what is detached. And when I used our dear friend, ChatGPT, and asked about what are actually the values that resonate with Brazil, all those came out. So you can see, and I feel it. So it was not, probably we are quite good friends with my ChatGPT, because it's really a lot about this community, family, joy, diversity, tolerance, connection to nature, creativity, expression, resilience, and adaptability. So those are also the values that we need for circular transformation. So you have something what has been given by nature in your DNA. So use it. And we have heard today about also very important document that is already there. So you have the strategy for circular economy. And you're starting this exciting journey. So there are just 3 points that I took out of that. So, and we heard about that. Elimination of waste and pollution, as we have heard. Circulation of materials and products at their highest value. That is very important to think about that. And regeneration of nature. So it's not too complicated on the paper, but when we bring it to practice, it's a different story. But you have something else, what was created by Beatrice and her team. So learnings from circular economy hubs. So for those who don't know it yet, I really advise this document. It is PDF on the website. There is a source as well. And you have very pragmatic stories there. Not stories about nice things that are happening elsewhere, but about business here in Brazil, circular business. And it is very nicely stressed how it is important to have this common vision, how important is it to have the data. We have heard about technology, importance of that, and people, what we always stress. At the end of the day, it's all about people. Even the best data doesn't help us without people who implement. And of course, the redefinition of roles and responsibilities. So what I have experienced, thanks to the group here as well, is that you have also one great example of creative tourism. Maybe this might be also something what connects the dots when we talk about circular economy, because none of the fields is disconnected. when we think about tourism, we think about food, we think about nature, we think about art that we experience, about craftsmanship, about industries behind. So think about that, how really to foster that and maybe to make this the best case study of the tourism of the present and the future. Because mass tourism is not the solution. Creative one definitely is. So how to stay on the market and play according to the rules that circular economy demands? First question, I always say, stay critical. Ask questions. Ask why. It is not because we don't know what to do and then we talk a little bit about circular economy. It's because of the risks. What kind of risks are out there? And where are the risks? The money doesn't want to go there. And still, as we have heard, money makes the world go round. How you said a trillionaire. I even cannot imagine those numbers. That is something what is out of my scope. But money goes where is less risk. The main, let's say, majority of money. And if we see now that risks are related with the climate change, it means that the industry and the business is changing and trying to go there and to work in a way to avoid those risks. And here you have just some of them. So what we are losing and how everything is changing. Biodiversity is one of top topics also regarding risks, and you're very familiar with that. And as Stephanie mentioned, in Europe, I was surprised because I'm coming from Europe and I said, oh, most likely everyone in this room knows that we have European Union and that in European Union we have a lot of rules and that we are going into the direction of Green Deal, that everything is turning into green and circular. So I just want to repeat what Stephanie nicely pointed out. In Europe, we have this ambition to become climate neutral, but we also have a lot of regulations supporting that. So it is not just, oh, this is the ambition, but it is then affecting businesses. So everything is going, or a lot of things are going in this direction, and particularly Circular Economy Action Plan is very clear about that, what to adopt. And we talk a lot, as I said, about circular economy, but on the other hand, change is not happening fast enough. This is another interesting document, Circularity Gap Report. Again, our Dutch colleagues contributed to it significantly. And we can see that the world is getting less circular. Now it's only 7% circular. What does it mean? That we waste a lot of material that we use. So once we use, I don't know, gold for our mobile phones, we don't know how to collect that gold and integrate it into the new phones. It is wasted somewhere and waste pickers are doing something on that. So we do not manage resources wisely, right? But we talk a lot about circular economy. So that is why the consumption patterns should change as well as production patterns. And this is the big challenge we have. And here we are shifting. It is just an exercise. If you think now, what does it mean that we move from efficiency to sufficiency? When we are thinking about that, how to be more effective, what is the result? We produce even more in an effective way. So more shoes, more phones, more glasses, more whatever. But if we think about sufficiency, it changes the perspective completely. Because then we say, okay, how many phones do we need to produce? Maybe we should produce the phones in a modular way so that we can repair and refurbish and so on and so forth. And there is another document, I'm just listing those documents that are really useful to study them, because it is all about that, how to use less and how to use resources wisely. So less production and less consumption. It doesn't mean that there is no economy anymore. There are just different business models behind. And for those who are not yet super familiar with circular economy, it is not about waste. And it is not about recycling. This is just a part of the whole concept. In the linear model, let's start with that. What is linear economy? We take something, we produce something, and we throw it away. Simplified version. In circular economy, first question is, do I need to produce something? Do I need to produce a new car? Or maybe not. Maybe we have different ways, like car sharing and so on. But once we produce something, the design should be, it should be designed in a way that we can repair, remanufacture, reuse, and at the very end, recycle. So do you remember, I have this experience. My grandmother used to have a fridge that lasted 50 years. Is someone familiar with things like that? So is this the development that now the fridge lasts 5 years? No. So we are producing with purpose things that do not last. We were able to produce them to last. So it is maybe a little bit reverse thinking and about that, how then to organize economy around that, that things will last longer and that we can repair them again. So this is one survey that has been done. Why am I encouraging you now with these numbers? Among 500 CEOs around Europe, and they were asked, what does circular economy mean for them? And as you can see, they didn't say, oh, that is something stupid, we don't want to deal with this. But they recognized circular economy as something, was this an opportunity, what can make them even more successful on the market, and most important, as I said before, they recognize circular economy as something what diminish risk, right? Because if you think in the terms of circular economy, you are more resilient. So we will come to that later on. But it is important fact that it is not just nice to have and report, but it is really making business stronger and more resilient. Here is something what is called, I call it entry points for circular economy journey and for your business model. Because as I said, it is not about recycling. Recycling is just one of the options, as you can see here, recover and recycling. But your business model can be circular in many different ways. One is that you are sharing things. I saw here bicycles in Recife. So people are going around on bicycles that they do not own, right? There is this sharing bicycle. This is an example of circular economy because I don't need to buy a bike. I can just use it when I need it. Move around, and there are other stuff that is needed. But there is, of course, the circulation of energy that is empowering everything. We need materials for that. We need nature and what we are taking from the nature or where we are in the nature. And we need support in the sense of digitalization. So when talking about systems, think about the elephant, the connecting dots, and then we come to the solutions once we connect them in the proper way. And when I took a look at another document of your region, I found out that there are, let's say, 5 those industries or 5 areas that are particularly interesting to implement also circular economy. So we see that we are very much aligned with what I showed before, and tourism is here also one of those that stands out. And when there was this exchange before, I noticed that exactly this document has been given to the lady from Finland. So obviously, that is what I found in the hotel, in the reception, and I said, oh, it's really interesting about innovation ecosystem in Brazil. And I took the brochure and I learned a lot about Recife, and it fits very well into that, what means to transform to the circular economy. We need this kind of ecosystem, we need experimentation, we need people who work on that, so absolutely something what is good starting point. But too often, when we are together, we agree, but then we go back to our companies, to our organizations, and nothing happens. So that's why there is something in the middle, what we call transition brokers. So these are people like Beatrice, who is probably somewhere networking already, who knows how to speak different languages, but not English and Brazilian and whatever, but languages of different organizations, of different stakeholders, having this big picture, so to zoom out and to see, oh, what is happening in research, what is government doing, what is happening in the social context, and how to create new markets, for example. And then connect these dots and help them to create something what has value for all of them who are engaged. So we can afterwards discuss about the role of transition brokers, but that is what is lacking also in Europe very much, and that's why I'm exposing that. So you have time now to get ready for the next big thing here in Brazil, as you have heard. What is coming is World Circular Economy Forum, where you have the opportunity to present what Brazil already has and what you already do. Because I have a feeling that we are not living on different continents, but on different planets. In Europe, we are ignorant in a way, including myself, of understanding what is Latin America and what is Brazil, for example. I've learned so much. And I believe that vice versa as well, that we have something to offer in Europe as well. So let's use this event really to figure out how to thrive together. And now to that, what to do with circular economy. As I said, sometimes it sounds ridiculous because things that we used to have or the way we used to operate disappeared from the agenda. As I said, for my grandmother and her fridge, or my uncle who could repair the car. So in Europe, now we have legislation that is called right to repair. Does it sound funny to you? That now you have right to repair. We forgot that, I don't know, 30 years ago, it was normal that you repaired things. But now we need legislation to support that because we forgot and products are not created or produced in a way to last long and to be repaired. This is just one example. And a lot is happening, as Stephanie mentioned, in different fields, including textile, but just to remind you of that, what there is. So since I said that I'm coming from Slovenia and we worked there on circular economy roadmap in 2016, and then I collaborated with other countries on that, including Chile, for example, from your continent. What we stress always, circular transformation cannot happen if all those three pillars are not connected. So one is circular economy as such, as we are talking about the businesses and everything related to economy. Then there is this circular change, so the transformation that should happen in mindset first, then in implementation, with the public sector, everything. But without circular culture, without values that support that, it cannot happen. I will just take an example, just to keep this with you, what I'm thinking with circular culture. For us ladies, it's very important how we are dressed, right? So if I, as a public person, would go around and think, oh, I should have new dress, new dress, new dress every time, then I'm not circular, because I'm exactly the opposite. I'm having new dresses all the time. But if I'm not valued according to that, oh, look at her, she's wearing the same dress as 3 years ago, isn't she ashamed? No, I'm not. So it is about the values, so that we do not value each other according to that, what kind of dress I'm wearing, which car is parked in front of my house, 1, 2, 3 cars, but according to what we do and how we use resources wisely. So that is this mindset shift, and it is very much rooted on values. And now I'm inviting you as well to find your partners in crime, in circular crime. I'm representing Circular Economy Stakeholder Platform that I'm co-chairing now for 7 years in Europe. And we are 24 different organizations, and this platform is your platform as well. So take a look, and if you have a report, I just found a lot of reports here around. If you have events like this, we published it, so use it as your platform to communicate with audiences, and you can publish, as I said, events or brochures or research or whatever, but you can also find partners for projects. And use the potential of Circular Economy Hub. Under this umbrella, you have a lot of stakeholders, a lot of partners. So here we have something what we did as a part of research on the role of circular economy hubs. And you can see that the value is really in that you find partners for creating right context, governance, infrastructure overview, then you find tools, and everything what is here is in the brochure that I mentioned before. So you have your circular economy hub, use it and co-create. And to thrive collectively and live sustainably, there is another part of, we are coming to the end, that circular economy should become a part of daily business. It is not something what comes once you solve the problems, but is actually part of daily business. And this is what I took as well from what I did as a kind of research around Brazil. And I realized, oh, there is a lot of innovation in agriculture, a lot of recycling projects. We have heard about renewable energy, so we should deep dive into that as well. Industrial symbiosis. So there are things that are happening and where you can embark and really do the change. And while we switched off the TV at the hotel, no coincidence, there was a nice, interview around that, how important is education and what is already happening here in Brazil regarding education, circular economy. So you see, whenever I step, there is circular economy. Here in Recife, absolutely. So, and now, yes, take the phone, and I'm inviting you to do one small exercise afterwards. This is a project that is aimed to let you know how to adjust your personal lifestyle. We are working on that together with Sitra from Finland. So Finland is absolutely present here. And it is a test where you see how circular you are and what you can improve. It is done for Europe, so you will see there is a lot of, they're asking you about heating systems, so I assume you do not need heating system, but anyhow, you can put whatever you want. And the idea is to bring this test also to Latin America, and hopefully we will have a chance to introduce it at the next event, World Circular Economy Forum, because it is so nice to know where you stand. It is like, okay, how many kilos I have as a person, and do I need a diet or fitness or what, if I know where I stand. It is the same with this lifestyle test. So to conclude with that, I said that I'm representing Circular Economy Stakeholder Platform and Circular Change. So we are on this rough sea, together with many of dear sisters and brothers in this room. Since 2016, the journey is going on, and we are very happy that in our honorary board we have people who really help us and are great speaking partners. So you can see, maybe some of you know Janez Potočnik. He is the former commissioner. He's chairing our committee. And there are others from Netherlands, Austria, Netherlands, and UK. Very bright minds. And I really think that it is important that we know how to find each other, how to collaborate, how to trust, and how to develop these relations. So if you are eager to collaborate, more than welcome. And just 5 takeaways for you, and then I'm done. So, step 1, blend Brazilian and European knowledge and experience. Let's take it as a homework for the next big event that we mentioned several times. Then implement circular business models. Don't think about, as we said, only recycling and waste management, but think about where you can be circular. Include transition brokers, you know, those people who stay after the event or after the meeting into your systemic change. Become the leader of this change, because it has been said many times, each of you can contribute. It's not that we have to wait for someone, right? Everyone has the power. And empower circular diplomacy. What I mean with that is that knowing the territory, knowing the stakeholders, you can communicate very efficiently with those who come, like I came from Europe, so the circular diplomat, Beatrice and others, can introduce me a lot of the country as well as I can, and we can do something. And absolutely nourish your playfulness. So, to conclude with one quote, don't waste your time with explanations. People only hear what they want to hear. So I sincerely hope that you heard something useful and that we will have a chance to collaborate in the future as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.